Did the serpent tell the truth in the Garden of Eden? Let me break this down clearly. You see, in Genesis chapter 3, the serpent tells Eve, God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Then later in verse 22, God himself said, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. So the question is, did the serpent tell the truth? Was God keeping something from us? And if we were already made in God's image, how did sin make us more like him? Did the devil actually open our eyes, or did he blind us? Well, today, I'm going to walk through with you carefully, because this isn't just about a piece of fruit. It is about freedom. It is about deception. It is about what really broke and why the gospel matters. Don't go anywhere. Be sure to click on subscribe, because you are about to discover an amazing truth that sets free. Now, let's start with God's original plan. Back in Genesis chapter 2, verse 16 and 17, God told Adam, you are free to eat from any tree in the garden, but you must not eat from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. For when you eat from it, you will certainly die. Now, if you read the text, there is no confusion here. This was a boundary that God set with a purpose. It was a boundary set to protect mankind, not to punish them. Then comes Genesis chapter 3. The serpent flips the script. You will not certainly die. God knows that when you eat of it, your eyes will be opened and you will be like God, knowing good and evil. Now notice something here. He didn't just offer a fruit. He offered some kind of an upgrade, a new identity, one that didn't depend on God. He says, you will be like God. In other words, the devil was saying, you will be on your own. You will have your own terms. Now that's the core of rebellion. Not just breaking a rule, but redefining who we are. People who are apart from the one who made us. That is the problem. But Pastor, wait. Were we not already made like God? Now this is where the serpent's lie becomes even more dangerous, because it was half true. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26 says, let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness. So you see, from the very beginning, human beings were created to reflect God in creativity, in relationship, in moral responsibility, in spiritual capacity, in so many other ways. We already had what the devil claimed he was offering to us. But here is the twist. God gave us his image as a gift. The serpent suggested that it was something that we need to take by force. Take it, claim it. You don't have to depend on God anymore. Just do it and be on your own. In other words, it wasn't becoming more like God. It was becoming independent from God. And that is the deception. What the devil said, you will be like God. It wasn't like you are going to be God, but it was like you are going to determine what is right and what is wrong on your own. You will not need any God deciding for you. In other words, the devil was saying, you will be your own God. And that is the deception. So the question again is, what actually happened when their eyes were opened? Well, in Genesis chapter 3, verse 7, the Bible says, then the eyes of both of them were opened and they realized they were naked. So yes, their eyes were opened, but not to divine wisdom, not to power, not to enlightenment. They saw shame, they saw fear and separation from the God who cared and loved them. And that's what sin does to us. It promises light, but only delivers confusion. So when God says in Genesis chapter 3 verse 22 that the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil, God is not saying that the devil was right. God is saying, now human beings have tested moral knowledge, but without divine purity, without divine strength, and without divine perspective. They are burdened with what only God is equipped to bear. This was never about some secret knowledge that human beings were denied access to. It was about exposure to evil without the protection of holiness. So again, maybe I've not answered. Let's be honest with this question. Was God keeping something from mankind? Was God insecure? Why did he not allow us to do whatever we want? Was he threatened by human potentials? Well, my dear friend, the truth is that none of them, not at all. The command was not about restriction. It was about protection. Now think about it. Would you give your 5-year-old child, a daughter or a son, your car key to drive just because they are curious? No. The issue isn't about knowledge. It's about capacity to handle it. God knew that testing evil would awaken a burden Adam and Eve weren't ready to carry. God knew that he had a better plan, and that plan would always come to pass if Adam and his wife would constantly choose to depend on God. You must understand that the free will that God gave to mankind would only work if there was an opportunity to sin against God. God wasn't hiding anything. He was shielding mankind from collapse that would eventually come when we depart from God. But when they reached for what seemed or looked like that freedom, what happened? They fell into slavery. Now, without understanding, let's step back and look at the full picture. Adam and his wife Eve disobeyed God, all in an attempt to be like God. But guess what? In the book of Philippians chapter 2, Bible tells us that Jesus Christ, being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be used to his own advantage, but humbled himself, becoming obedient to death, even death on a cross. Do you see the contrast here? Adam disobeyed to rise up. Jesus obeyed to lay himself down. Adam grasped for godhood and brought death. Jesus, who was already God, chose humility and brought life. My dear friend, that is the gospel. It is a reversal of what happened in Eden. In Eden, we took what wasn't ours. At Calvary, Christ gave us what we didn't deserve. At the tree in Eden, our eyes were opened to shame. At the cross, his death opened the way to grace. So yes, my dear friend, the answer to the question, was the devil or was the serpent right, is blatant no. He told a lie, because as Jesus Christ said, he's a liar and the father of it. He offered a shortcut to something that God had already given to us. He twisted the truth. He said, if you eat, you will not die. You will be like God, knowing good and evil. He turned mankind into rebels, and they ended up in shame and naked. God wasn't hiding his power from us. God was only protecting mankind. But the truth is that when we lost that place, when we lost that dominion God has placed in our hand, God didn't abandon us. He sent Jesus Christ, not to punish us, but to restore us. So don't let the enemy lie to you about who you are or who God is. You were made in God's image, and through Jesus Christ, that image is being restored. My name is Pastor Isaac Apple, and this is the Truth That Sets Free. And if this message has been a blessing to you, make sure to share it with somebody, and like and comment and follow this channel for more truth that will set free. I will come your way again with another important message. But until then, remember, the Bible says, you shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. Shalom.